Okay.
Damn. All right, let's do a cheers, brother.
We do a little
How
October.
we doing for Cocktober?
Cocktober. That's what we're calling it this year.
Listener, there may be something
Drinking the middle of
strange.
talking.
There might be something strange about today's episode. You might notice that this isn't coffee.
No.
Maybe a cold brew.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, listener, it ain't a cold brew. It's something a tad stronger. Justin, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking a Southern Tier Warlock, which is a
Imperial pumpkin stout.
stout. Pumpkin spice, pumpkin pie spice. So
How do you like it?
I like it.
I think it tastes good.
I think I might like it more than
Better than the pumpkin.
Pumpkin,
You don't
which
like
is the other Southern Tier.
That's a pumpkin ale. Now, both are limited, seasonal favorites of Southern Tier, which I believe is local.
We're definitely sponsored by them as well.
New York, right? They're New York?
They're New York.
Yeah, New York, local, little brewskery. And you might ask again, why are you drinking a beer? Well, A, it's not morning. It's 5 o'clock here and other places. And
It's actually 6.
it's 6 o'clock. And B, because this is a very special episode, today's topic is about, well, what the next month is going to bring for us. Justin, you want to?
Yeah, so as made popular in the mainstream sense by Joe Rogan,
Joseph Roganathan.
we are going to be practicing Sober October. And you might be thinking, oh, it's already October. Why are you guys drinking? Well, it's because we already have plans to be drinking
Weekend
tomorrow.
plans.
So,
Oops.
which tomorrow means Saturday.
For us.
Just so you guys
Today's
know.
Friday. So by the
Yeah.
time you see this, you will be seeing what will be our last consumed alcoholic beverage for the foreseeable future, at least till November 4th.
At least the next 30 days.
Yeah, so this is kind of when it'll come out on the day that we stop doing it. So from now on, you're not going to see us drinking coffee on the podcast. We'll be having some nice water to get our day started right. So, oh, listener, I love you so. Yeah, this is going to be good. You know, this is my first time ever having a drink ever on any podcast. I don't drink or smoke or anything while I'm recording myself doing podcasting because I've done like 6 or 7 shows. My first show, Nightcap, I tried doing a drink with every show, but it didn't. It didn't work well. I would get off topic and rambly, but you guys like when I get off topic and rambly. So I'm gonna be down in this 8.6%er, and now our commercial's over. So love you, listener. Don't tell Justin.
Did you say anything while
No, I was just looking at him all coy like. Okay, so
we are gonna be talking a little about indulgence and habits. I got the impression of. So John, what are your bounds for Sober October? 'Cause
Yeah, that's a good place to
we were
start.
talking about
What is
how
Sober
it doesn't
October?
necessarily mean just alcohol and anything else.
It's kind of a month to, I'll first, well, I guess I'll get into that later. First off, very simply what we're going to do. So I am going to be cutting a few things out of my system this October. I'm not going to be drinking. I'm not going to be smoking anything. I'm not going to be doing takeout or I'm not going to be eating out. There's probably going to be a couple, 1 or 2 maybe exceptions to that specific one if there's my family's going to dinner somewhere or something like that. But generally, I'm not going to be eating out. I'm not going to be eating really unhealthily. And I'm also going to be waking up earlier again. We'll see about that. But I'll be trying to do that. So that's kind of my bounds for Sober October. More like a good habit October. How about you, Justin?
Something similar. I already have a couple plans for traveling this month. So I definitely want to reduce my eating out habits. I feel like I've gotten a lot more into that in the past couple months. So apart from a couple weekends where I might have 1 or 2 eating out meals, not even like takeout necessarily, because takeout's a whole thing where I don't want to cook tonight, but I do want to chill in my home.
Yes.
Then you just get shitty food that you bring back, so that's a whole thing. But
yes, yeah.
But yeah, I also want to not do caffeine. I don't really have a caffeine problem. It's not like I need 4 cups a day
That one night was bad. You were underage.
OD'd on
Like 6
caffeine.
Dude,
Like 6'9".
Guys, 6'9". In 24 hours, 6'9" OD'd on caffeine pills. Donald Trump has coronavirus.
No, it's caffeine and weight loss pills.
Yes. And local legend Steve Barnes died in a plane crash. If you know who Selena and Barnes are, you know who Steve Barnes is. It's been a tough 24 hours.
Yeah.
Stay awake, folks. No time for rest in today's day and age.
Especially when you're not driving a plane.
Especially when you're on a plane. I will say, what is your historical take on Sober October? In terms of what you've done before, when you first heard about it, how you like it, how you feel about it?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I was going to school at Ithaca College, and that was like around the time that I first really got into, the
Joe Rogan experience.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. So, I don't know, there was just like a lot of clips and some cool guests that he had on, and I was like, oh, this guy's cool. And then I started to realize the friendships that he had with his fellow comedians, and they all got together and they did Sober October. I think that year it was like the second or third year that they did it.
I remember that.
And it was a big competition amongst them where they had these
ridiculous competition.
Where they had these tracker bracelets, like the Wolf band or something like that.
Joe Rogan was running like 6 hours a day.
There was one clip that he posted on Instagram where he was running for 6 hours on his elliptical straight, and there was a puddle of sweat beneath him, and the whole workout room was just steamy.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. They were going off for that.
And Bert Kreischer lost like 50 pounds, maybe, I think. Yeah. So like they kicked it up.
It works. It's one of, and that kind of leads into my opinions on it. I didn't like it for a while. I mean, obviously, to each their own, and like I was supportive of it. I listened to all the podcasts. I like what they're doing. But to me, it felt a lot like fad dieting. Similar, like my concept of that kind of stuff tends to be like, if you want to make a life change, make a life change.
Right.
But recently, I've kind of changed my perspective on it. It's not necessarily saying it's bad that I do these things, so I want to not do them for a month. It's more of a challenge to say life is so full of vices. It's so full of some of these things, stuff like substance. If I cut it out, how does that make me feel? Just to level myself, and maybe using that is where you can use that to then make decisions on if you want to stop drinking or if you want to drink less or whatever, that kind of stuff. So I think it's I've kind of changed. I used to think of it as kind of a fad, but I'm thinking of it more now as a challenge and a way to kind of understand yourself. This is what I'm like when I am. This is what I'm like.
Yes.
Daily substance use changes that, but this is what me as a base person acts like unhindered. I think that's good. So I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, so at Ithaca College, I just started watching Joe Rogan, and I decided to do it.
The Joe Rogan experience.
And it was an interesting time to do it because I was getting to know all these people that I was making friends. It was my first year at that school, so
no social lubrication.
So I was hanging out with people, but for the first month of me knowing them, it was just like, I'm not drinking until November.
Weird, yeah, that is interesting.
And it was a whole thing where they were like, oh, it'll be so fun, November, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm having a fun time now, but
they're like, oh, you'll be so cool when you're drunk, finally.
Yeah, and
we hate you now.
I guess, man. Yeah.
I think that vices are interesting if you think about in culture and what's considered a vice, right? You think about how alcohol is so socially accepted, and for most of human history, stuff like psychedelics were more of the go-to substance.
Yeah.
Alcohol is relatively new being extremely relative. But for most of human existence, they kind of argue that most of our religions were founded based around substance use, like with psychedelics, stuff like that. And so we found kind of a shift recently. And even if you look at the last 100, 200 years, you've seen stuff like marijuana all of a sudden become a problem. You've seen alcohol go through phases of being a problem and then not being a problem. Right. Tobacco was fine, and now it's an issue. And so I always find that interesting. How much of it's government-induced, how much of it's societal-induced, how much of it's fair. Is it fair to condemn cigarettes? For a while, it was because there was misinformation, but nowadays, we all know the
information's out there. You
so
see the
if I want to smoke cigarettes,
and
I don't. It's a slippery slope though too, because a part of it is they've banned most of the negatives from it in terms of like, oh, everyone's getting secondhand smoke in restaurants and stuff. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, a lot of the substance, in my opinion, is like, pursue at your own risk.
Yes.
Do whatever you should be able to do coke every day if you want to. Why is it illegal, right?
Yeah.
What's the benefit? Now, if you die, you die. But it's like eating. Eating's not. I could eat a Big Mac every day. No one's gonna come arrest me.
Right.
It's probably gonna do the same amount of damage, you know.
Yeah. In a different way.
Yes. It's fine. Interesting. What we decide is substance. That's why I'm doing the food thing this month. The food thing is big for me this month because food can be a substance.
It can.
It's real easy to eat unhealthily and not think about it. Because
Exactly.
It's food.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I don't know how you feel about some of that kind of stuff.
Oh, like, I can definitely agree with you on food being a substance and just, I mean, there's practices and routines that can be, lately I feel like we've been more into the video games kind of thing.
This is at Trevor R. Gross.
Yeah.
Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's great. He kills in Call of Duty.
Yeah, add him on Warzone, guys.
He's good. He's real good.
But yeah, just like pastimes like that. For me, it used to be YouTube. I don't go on YouTube as much anymore. Just those YouTube binges.
Reddit.
So yeah. So it's just like everybody has their thing. I want to try to turn that time into more me reading, which I'm very excited about, and whether that means books or screenplays that I'm interested in. So turning certain vices into other things.
Virtues.
Yeah. Nice. Just like, I think it's a good opportunity to be meditative on how you spend your time. Like, I'm gonna assume, or I'm gonna predict that caffeine isn't that big of an issue for me, as I was saying before.
Mm-hmm.
I have a cup a day. It's not like I need caffeine to operate. I've done breaks from caffeine before.
It's almost a routine thing more than anything, I think, for you.
I like the ritual of it. I like
it's
waking up.
Warm in your belly, wakes you up in the morning. It's a little bit of a boost.
But mostly it's not even the waking up. It's the, I get out of bed, and then I put the water on, and then I put the filter in the pour over if I'm doing that, and then I grind up the beans, and then I put them in the filter, and then I hold the water over, and it's like a nice little experience. Yeah. So it's that itself, all those little tasks that I'm kind of doing in overdrive or
back of your mind,
autopilot. Yeah, it's helping me wake up because it's something that I recognize that I'm like, oh, I have to do this, do that, and then my brain starts kicking on.
So you gotta find like an equivalent meditative subconscious thing, whether it's like, oh, I'm gonna wipe down all the counters every morning, or it's like I'm gonna do 20 sit-ups, then read a page or two out of this specific book of short find an equivalent subconscious activity to replace it.
I might want to do like a walk around the block or something.
Yeah, something like that. And that's with me. That's actually a good idea. Taking a little stroll in the morning.
Wake up.
I've always found that's what it is, right? We kind of find as many excuses as possible to step away from ourselves.
Yes.
And whether that's getting drunk or high or something and not thinking about yourself or your situation or your life for a few hours, whether it's scrolling through your phone or whatever, we like to spend time away from ourselves, and stuff like technology and substance are the two greatest ways to do that. But you take away that stuff, substances, technology, you take some of that stuff out of your life, and you can replace it with equally productivity, but also like self-love and self-help and stuff. Whether it's reading a book or writing more, whatever you want, you like. It's about, in my opinion, maximizing the you time. Whether it's your job, your hobbies, sitting around doing nothing, whatever. Just you time is so important, and it's so much easier to watch 2 hours of television and then go out to eat dinner and have a couple drinks, and you come back and you talk to somebody, then you go to bed and you're awake for an hour and then you fall asleep. It's way easier to do that, and where the hell did your night go?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
We say as we're drinking
Warlock, brought to you by Southern Tier.
I mean, you know me, man. I'm already feeling it.
Oh yeah, I'm working my way down.
Good.
Yeah.
Alright, so what do you think the most dangerous habit to have is? And you can go a couple different directions with this. It could be your habits, it could be societal habits, it can be actual danger, it can be slower burn. What do you think the most dangerous habit out there is?
It's difficult. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah.
Then you go first.
I'm trying to think of the exact word, but I think the most dangerous habit in the world is complacency. I think it's something that most people have. Most people I know got that dream that they're refusing to follow. Like that, I'll do this like when I get there. Or like, I like doing this, but like I haven't done it in a few weeks. Everyone has that complacency what they have. And so people have dreams, and the reason those dreams aren't realities is because you're dreaming. You're looking ahead and saying, when in 10 years I'm doing this, or in 5 years I'm doing this.
I do that.
Different.
Yeah.
I do this. Most people I know do
Yes.
it. My family do it. My friends do it. I do it. Most people say, I'm going to do this more. I'm going to do that more. Whether it's your habits or your activities or the way you treat people or whatever.
Yeah.
And the difference between people like that and like people that are successful in those fields is the people that are successful just did it. Like if you want to be a YouTube star, just make YouTube content every day. Maybe you don't have it, but if you really want to be a YouTube star, you got to make videos all the time. So make videos every day, kind of thing.
And if you don't have it from jump, if you make YouTube videos every day, you're gonna see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah,
and then
half
from
of it's
that,
practice,
maybe you'll learn.
trial and error, getting better at your craft, finding out what works, what doesn't. The other half is sinking the man hours into it. You talk about writing and stuff. You're getting into writing recently. I've written some stuff. Writing takes time. The idea is the fun part, and that's why everyone's going to come to you and say, I have this cool idea, I have this cool idea, I have this cool idea. But the sitting there for 20, 30, 40, 50 hours writing whatever the hell it is you're writing is the hard part. It's easy to have the idea about it, and they'll talk about this, and they'll do this, and I have the whole plot in my head, but if it's not on paper, because that's the hard part.
You have to put it on paper.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that, especially, I think young people, people in college, there's a lot of room in there. That group of people has a lot of stress because you're kind of waiting for your break, but your break's not going to come until you work, so it's kind of a cycle, and then it repeats until you're fucking 35 bank teller. They're just like, why isn't this happening anymore? So that's what I would say. I want you to talk for a few minutes about what you think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
That's
a big thing. But my mind was going to, I guess, technology. We have an overindulgence in it. What was the question again? Just to remind myself.
What do you think the most dangerous habit is?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You're good.
I think it's
drunk ass.
You just went on for a while.
I did go on for a while.
I've thought a lot about social media, and I know it's a hot topic today, but there's definitely something to be said, maybe even more than social media, but celebrities. A lot of people find comfort in watching other people. So it kind of goes with what you're saying with not doing the dream, but watching other people live the dream that you want. And then it's like, oh, it's so cool. Like, I can't wait to get there, or I can't believe they did that. And then it's just, but every day you're just supporting those people, which is great. If you care about those people, it's what it is. But it's also a matter of you're watching other people do what they want to do. How much are you doing what you want to do? If you're watching other people most of the time. And that can be true for, that sounds very specific for social media and like YouTube, but that could also be true to music and photography or writing or anything. So
we've talked about that, like when you're watching TV, like in reality you're sitting in a chair for a few hours doing nothing. In reality, you're watching TV. You can tell me about the plot of the thing, but in reality, you've been sitting in your living room for the night.
Yeah, it's just but it's the same thing if you're reading a book. So it's
only I agree.
It's only for a certain amount of time, so
it's not your creativity and this is something that only creatives really feel. I think with other people, it's like there's a kind of a line where your work is X, and then your downtime is other people's creativity.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to get into those mediums, other people's creativity is almost set out to the yours. You got to take it in, but like if you want to write a book and you're reading a bunch of other people's books, that's time you could be writing. It's honestly a very weird thing that only affects the population of people that are creatives.
I feel like there is definitely a little space though where if you're just starting out, you have to like know what the environment is, like what the climate of your craft is at the time. So that you can know what you're interested in writing and then try writing different things. But the problem is that you can't do mostly reading other people's things in that sense.
Balance is hard.
Yeah, you have to do at minimum 50-50. At minimum.
When I used to listen to so many podcasts. And when I started podcasting, I stopped listening to podcasts. Because it's like became my work. And I still do some. There's a few podcasts I like. Joe Rogan's the one I listen to the most just because it's so random. But it's tough because that's my job. Like I still listen to podcasts. It's just the ones that I work for are the ones I listen to. I'm an editor, so I have to listen to the podcast anyways. So I find that it takes my fill of podcasting.
You get your fill, yeah.
And it's similar to like if you ask an actor, right, like what movies and TV they like. They're like, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
It's their job. It's
right.
You kind of lose.
They make it.
Yeah, you lose the allure, and there's no point. Why would I listen to a podcast where I can just podcast instead?
They make a movie or TV show or whatever, and then they watch what they made. And
Sometimes.
then they work. Yeah, well,
I know a lot of TV actors that are like, I never saw. I don't really watch a lot of the TV show.
It depends.
Which is funny, honestly.
Yeah, I'm thinking of maybe it's a very specific thing. Then I feel like
it depends on the person. Obviously.
I feel like if it were me acting, I would work on the thing. I would watch the end product. Yes. And I'd be like, oh, it's cool. I'm glad that they pieced it together like that. Cool. And then I'd be working on another thing, and then I'd watch that thing.
Yes.
But I wouldn't watch a lot in between because it's like, oh, that. If you're an actor or if you're anybody in that setting, you're like, if you're a gaffer, like a lighting guy,
you know
then you're just going to be watching a TV show and like, oh, I could have done that lighting a little better or different or whatever.
We already do that, and we don't even work, you know?
Well, so like we have an interest in being writer, director. I have a bit of interest in cinematography as well.
You're like, I don't know what you're...
Well, like, I know that you're interested
You're interested in writing and directing cinematography. I am the Facebook profile picture before you choose it.
Just the guy. The blue background.
A little hair.
Is it a blue background or the blue guy?
I think it's a blue background with
two different shades of blue.
Like a light blue-gray.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, so
Video editor, you better put that on the screen at that moment.
Yeah. So we have a wider scope of like what we are interested in. So when we watch a movie, we're paying attention to a lot of things.
Yes.
I feel like like as opposed to like a very technical person, somebody that only does cinematography, they're only watching the shots probably because that's what they spend their most of their time with. But I feel like the first time I watch a movie, I'm like, what's the plot? And then second time I watch a movie because I've rewatched a lot of movies, it's these shots are cool. Yes. And then third time is like, these actors are really good. Yes. And then it's a whole other thing, yeah.
What? I'm going to ask time check, and then I have one other thing I think is a good
22. Cool. Almost 23.
Unless you have anything specific, I have another good, for us, fielded question. Yeah, so in terms of like time now, we've talked about time. We're going to have more time. What are you most excited for? And I think your answer is reading.
Reading.
Talk about for a minute about how you're going to spend that time that you would have spent stoned out of your mind or drunk or whatever, or whatever. You know what I mean?
I don't do too much of those things, but as it is.
What's your newfound time and newfound self-exploration going to be used for, and what are you most excited for?
I want to read a lot more. I feel like I have been a decent amount lately. I powered through Dune in the past couple of weeks. I was reading it for like 6 months in between other nonfiction books that I was reading at the same time. And then I finally decided that Dune was the only one that I'd be reading at the time, and I finally finished it. Great book.
What are you going to be reading this month?
I'm going to finish Outliers. I think I have about
Malcolm
Gladwell's Outliers, the story of success. It's about how we view success and how success actually works, kind of thing. So I'm going to finish that one, and then on the list I have one that John recommended to me, which is Richard Feynman.
Yes.
That one.
Surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman.
Yeah, so that sounds like an interesting one. Amazing. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson's Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. I have sitting in my room.
Hell yeah.
And then there's Interpretation of Dreams by Sigmund Freud that I want to get at some point. Maybe so just flip through.
Potentially the four you're trying to maybe read this month.
Potentially, yeah. Yes, if I can power through them. Why We Sleep is also an audiobook that I'm trying to get through.
Nice.
But besides reading, I want to meditate more and go to the gym more because I was decent at it over the summer, but I feel like I fell off of it for a bit. So what about you, Jonathan?
Well, I'm going to keep running. I've been doing some running. I've been doing that a couple times a week, so I'm on month 2 now, so I'll be continuing to do that. I read a lot, but I'll be continuing to read. Right on my book stand right now, I got The Stand by Stephen King, uncut and ready for action.
Unabridged.
Like a good Christian boy.
Nice. Yeah.
I think.
With a nice glass of warm milk beside you.
Yeah, so it's going to be... Yeah, I'm reading The Stand by Stephen King. I'm going to read Dune, maybe.
Thank God.
God willing. What else am I?
Everybody should read Dune before they see the movie this winter. That's just my recommendation.
It's a good book and it's gonna be a good film. I hope.
Yes.
I'll also be I'm doing a book advertisement. I'm gonna be working on pretty steadily, directing that, and podcast potentially.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I don't want to talk too much about that because it's not done. But I have a podcast I might be coming out with in November or late October, so I'll be doing some work for that. I think that's pretty much it. Those are the main kind of things I want to kind of do with my time. I'm just looking forward to the clarity. The big thing is sleep. I tend to get fucked up, and then I don't go to bed till too late, and then I wake up late, and I feel shitty when I wake up. And over quarantine in March, I was doing great. I was going to bed at like 10:30. I was getting up at like 7, up with the birds. We do our video calls in the morning with coffee and stuff like that. So I want to get back closer to that because now I'm doing about 10 o'clock again. I'm staying up till like 2 again. And I want to kind of back away from some of that, and early bird gets the worm, So that's kind of how I'm feeling about this next month. And I'm going to use this time as well to transition into longer term goals. I'm going to try to be... I go back and forth with weed. Sometimes I smoke it, sometimes I don't smoke it. And I'm kind of getting to a point where a lot of the time where I smoke it, I say, it's not really helping me.
I'm not into it as much anymore.
I like this. I love CBD. I like smoking CBD. I like having the mental. I don't like giving up my mental clarity. And alcohol does it too. And alcohol is kind of a fun escape. It's one of those things that you do it once a week, maybe on the weekend or something like that. But I'm kind of going to try to minimize a lot of my substance work into like a day a week or 2 days a week.
Yes. Because
I like having the mental clarity. And I find that the more if I'm drunk 3 or 4 days a week, which I don't usually do, let's say I do that though, it'll last the whole week. Even if I'm not drunk, it's still like that grogginess doesn't go away,
So I'm going to say that we're at 27.
We are at a good place to stop.
So we are at a good place to stop. If you like this episode, please subscribe, comment, whatever.
Whatever the hell floats you.
Just let us know if you like it, is pretty much all I'm trying to say. And I'll leave with this, because you said the early bird gets the worm.
Early bird does.
I saw someone say this once, and I really appreciate it. The early worm gets a flying coffin. So be quick in the morning. Don't be slow. Get after it.
I'd even say the early worm might not get the bird. Well, so I guess if you're a worm, you should sleep in. Or you get up even earlier. You beat those damn birds.
And then what's to say you're not a bird? Because you're early as hell.
Yeah, I guess.
Because you're getting after it.
Worms, birds, and all critters in between. Be good to yourself. Enjoy yourself. Substance can be fun, but don't let it overtake your life. And don't be sitting in the back seat of your own journey. Take the fucking wheel, man. Because that's all you got.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next Sunday at
the station.
Nice, man. Got him!